You're live. All right, I got 6:30, so we will go ahead and I will call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Mary.
Beth Dilley,
Here.
Marge Jorgensen,
Here.
John Crowe,
Here.
Mary Kuhn,
Here.
Maria Mason,
Here.
Lisa Kansas,
Here.
Chad Reedy,
Here.
Barry Steelman,
Here.
Brent Rogers.
Here.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have minutes from regular meeting February 14 and special meeting February 14.
I move for approval of the February 14th regular meeting minutes and the special meeting of February 14th.
Second.
All right, motion and a second then to approve the minutes from the regular meeting February 14th and special meeting February 14. All in favor?
Aye.
All those not, same sign? All right. We got some extra visitors tonight, so it's nice to see everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you also for all those that are watching at home. Appreciate your attendance tonight. I'll try to talk better through the course of this meeting. So thank you for being with us tonight. With that, we did not have anybody signed up for public comment, so we will go ahead and skip that. We'll move on to announcements.
The board may recess into closed session per Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss specific employees and to discuss negotiation strategy and Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The board will reconvene into open session for the possible transaction of business and adjournment.
All right, thank you, Bev. On to the agenda. If there's no corrections, I'll look for a motion for adoption.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second then to adopt the agenda for this evening. All in favor?
Aye.
All those not, same sign? All right, so moving quickly down to reports by admin. We will start out with a very special presentation. I will turn it over to Mark.
Good evening. Unfortunately, you won't have to listen to me too much because we have a very special guest with us this evening, Mr. John Ashley, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. Very respected, very busy man, and he is here for a very special reason. So, John, thank you so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you, Board of Directors of this school district of Beaver Dam. As I was noted, my name is John Ashley. I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. It's my distinct pleasure to represent almost 3,000 school board members from around the state of Wisconsin. We have about 421 school districts. All of the public school districts are members of the WASB, so we're very fortunate in that regard. As an association, our job is to make the job of school board members easier. I know that's a joke. It's a very difficult job. There's nothing that we can do that's going to make it that much easier, but as an association, we're here to support our members. And one of the things that we do as an association, and I as executive director get to do, is to recognize those school board members who have gone beyond just being a school board member to actually being visionary leaders for their communities. And so tonight, I'm humbled by being able to present on behalf of the Wisconsin Association of School Board to one of the members of the Beaver Dam Board a certificate of recognition. So if you will allow me to read that certificate, this special recognition of service to Wisconsin Public School students is awarded to Gary Spielman for 30 years of service on the Beaver Dam School Board. Mr. Spielman, if I may. So before I give Gary all the credit, I know his family is not here, but I want, oh, there she, okay. Well, you're the one that should be getting this award. Thank you for loaning Gary to this district for so many years, because I'm sure there were things that you wanted him to be doing, but he chose to put the school first. But I always thank the families, and especially the spouse, because it really, yes, let's give her a
Board used to meet on Tuesday nights 20 years ago, but we changed it to Monday nights because Tuesday night was basketball games. So the board was very nice to change our meetings to Monday. Thank you very much.
Well, thank
for
you,
coming out
and
here.
thank you for loaning Gary for 30 years. I want to just acknowledge that very, very few of our members reached that milestone. And that's really, I think, a reflection of how much Gary cares about this community, about the students in this community, and he couldn't do it without a wonderful family, and I understand he has two of his children who are also in education. So it continues, but it's my privilege to acknowledge the work that you've done, Gary. And I encourage the board, you've got a few years ahead of you, but here's your role model. You can all do it, and for Sadie, our school board representative, you look at this model. No pressure. There's no pressure. But again, let me thank you for your service and also that of the full board and your superintendent and your wonderful staff. The work that you do here in Beaver Dam is recognized around the state, so it's my privilege to thank you.
And the board always
You're 18, you're ready to run for the board. Thank you. Thank you again, John.
All right, we'll pause for just a second. We got a couple pictures we want to get out of the way, and then we'll get back to business. Marge, do we really change?
Excuse me? Yes, we have.
So we really
It's
use-
got to be longer than 20 years ago. Or was it just?
Well, Marge, let's just say somewhere between 20 and 27, because I can verify that. The rest I can't. Actually, I thought we used to meet on Thursdays, and then we went to Mondays. And there was a sporting reason for that.
The important thing was for the benefit of Gary.
Well, I'm sure the district staff didn't mind either.
I'm sure not. I'm sure not.
for the radius. They have to cover school board and warn your city council and stuff.
Or, Marge, it could have even been Thursday night football.
You and me, boy.
Didn't even know, did you?
You and I get all the warm, right?
Gary, last chance for a speech. You want a speech?
Oh, thank you.
Well, you know, all I can say is I really do enjoy working with Gary, and I can't wait to see him do another 30 years.
Because this wasn't retirement, this was just recognition.
Yes, thank you very much.
But I just wanted to mention too that Gary doesn't just show up for the meetings and his committee meetings. He is at so many of the tours and extra things that we do and negotiations and other committees that he volunteers even more time for. So thank you for all of that.
Again, I guess, just, I can say something. I worked with 5 superintendents and talking to Dr. Ashley there. I said with the boards, we've had great boards as far as working together, and that's happened. If we didn't have fun, I don't think any of us would be here. So hopefully, as new members come on, we continue to enjoy each other and work together, and that's the important thing. I think that we work together and enjoy it. So thank everyone for working together.
Gary, I think on behalf of the board, I can also say that we appreciated your presence too. Like Joanne said, it's just not coming to meetings. I mean, you're fully supportive of Beaver Dam Unified School District and all that you do, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to say this because this is the only occasion I can say this on. When I came on the board Gary was there to mentor me along with other board members. But to speak to his character and his stick-to-itiveness, Gary also lost a board election at one point and ran again and came back. That's his dedication.
Very nice.
About that.
Again, Gary, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, high school. That's a tough act to follow. But I'd like to welcome to the podium the high school team.
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here tonight to be the School of the Month. First, I'd like to acknowledge our tech ed students who made those pads and those handcrafted wood pens. So as a little gift from our students in tech ed. Tonight, I want to talk about, I have a remote, so that's good. Okay. Tonight, I want to talk about a couple key areas, but one of the things I always like to start off with is the mission and vision. This was the work that we did last year as a staff with collective commitments. And so you can see there, our school came up with both a mission and a vision that's unique to our high school. Current enrollment at the high school is overall, and this fluctuates from day to day with ins and outs that come in. Overall, where the last look was 1,119, and you can see the largest class right now is the freshmen. So we talk about my presentation tonight. We're going to highlight the school success plan, which is always a big part of these presentations. But then I also know this board is very aware of all the at-risk program changes this year. So I'm going to provide a little more context about that as well. Tonight helping me is Mr. John Casper. He'll be up here to talk for part of the presentation as well. All right, our school success plan update. Our first goal, like most schools, is the ELA goal. And as you can see there, we want to raise, based on the 3-year average, we want to raise the percent of students that are meeting the benchmark. So we're looking at a 6% increase from 33% to 39%, and that's based off of last year's data. In addition, at least 10% of our students with disabilities and students that are Hispanic will perform at the high end of their predicted ACT range in reading based, again, on the 2021 pre-ACT results. What have we done? One of the pictures up there is a picture of a close reading lesson that occurred in a science class. You can also see there's a quote up there from one of our teachers. This was a building-wide initiative this year. We did a book study last year, decided we want to put some emphasis on this strategy. And so this year our work has been throughout the year working on that close reading strategy. So we think about close reading, we're looking at key ideas and details, we're looking at discourse, we're really looking at students really being able to analyze text or other informational items to, pull out the details and be able to understand what they're reading. So with that, you can see Mr. Dusterbeck had a really good time with this. He's also part of our literacy team. But additionally, a goal this year was that each teacher do at least one complete lesson while building on the strategies that we've shared throughout the year. I can report out that most teachers have done at least one lesson, and there are quite a few that are doing this pretty frequently in their classrooms as they see a huge value in this type of strategy. The other piece identified there is win time, what I need. 2 years ago, before the COVID hit, we had flex time at the end of the day, kind of an intervention period. We restructured it this year with our new schedule to build in win time, what I need, 2 days a week, and that goes on the days where we have the extended instruction periods. Students are able to voice and choice with that, meaning they can either select things that they need, or teachers can also pull them into things as well, or make recommendations for them. This could be remediation, test taking, extension, depending on, there's certain clubs that will meet during that time as well. The last piece that I wanted to highlight was our methodized test prep program that we just rolled out in January. We did some research on this to find an additional tool for all students to be able to access to help build with some of the ACT skills that are necessary when taking the test. Our goal with that program is to continue the implementation and start to get classrooms to build classrooms within that program that then they can pull pieces out of that program that relate to the things they're doing in the classroom as like a companion piece. Otherwise, students are able to go on whenever, wherever they want and do some practice activities. There's actual full tests that students can take and get some feedback on to help them grow with that test. So currently you can see there's about 484 registered users, 9 through 11. Our second goal is in the area of math. As you can read up there, again, very similar to English. We want a 7% overall increase. Again, with some of our subgroups also moving up as well. So that's the math goal there. One of the big things that we did this year that I'm very pleased with is our math lab implementation. We also have a math specialist that works with our regular classrooms as well as provides services in the math lab. And the student users, as you can see on the left there, is growing each term. So our first term we had a little over, well, right now we're at 1,400 visitors, but I can just tell you that we're already on pace with third term to surpass the entire first semester usage of that math lab. So it continues to grow on a daily basis. Another interesting statistic based on the users is 88.5% that have shown up in the math lab have a good pass rate in their math classes. So that's a nice statistic too. CISA 6 is a partnership that we have this year focusing on PD. It focuses on proven instructional strategies to give our department more direction. The person coming from there is Sarah Fleischman. She's also been able to assist by getting into classrooms and providing quick responsive feedback to drive future PD and support individual teacher needs. Sarah and our AP, that's Rob Essig, also collaborate during and after her instructional coaching visits so the instructional practices can be supported and extended when she's not present. And then again, as I explained earlier, the application of WIN and methodized test prep also supports that work in math. John?
Good evening, everybody. Just to continue with our high school presentation, talking about our third goal of school connectedness. And you can see there, our goal is to increase our connectedness as measured by the school perception survey, which will be upcoming here in the spring, later in April. We'll be doing that to measure how we've hopefully see some improvement with student connectedness as well as parent-family sense of community, and also staff, public, and parent support as well. So you can see what we're trying to focus on there with that goal. And a couple things here to support that in terms of what we're doing in terms of action steps. If you look on the left, you can see the athletics and activities engagement numbers. The middle graph also talks about or points to kids that are participating in one or more clubs, sports, or activities. So you can see the vast majority of our kids are really involved, which we know is huge in terms of being connected to any school for that matter. Being able to work with other adults in different capacities, we know that's really important for our kids. So you can see the athletics on the left-hand side there, fall participation and winter participation numbers, as well as 447 students participating in the following groups and organizations, which is awesome. We're pretty fortunate at Beaver Dam High School to be able to offer as many things as we do, and our students really take advantage of that. And like I said before, we know how important that is. As far as the action steps on the right, there's also things that we've done in terms of open houses. We've done some 8th grade transition nights, junior family night, ELL family nights, things like that to try to re-engage other people that are part of our school community. Zello is what school counselors and students use to start tracking their academic and career planning. So that's been a little bit different platform in terms of re-engaging students in that this year. So that they're getting more individual attention with that, various lessons with that as well. And those are done during homeroom. Freshman health class focuses on some of those things as well. And then our counselors are doing a lot of individual student meetings in terms of scheduling, looking ahead to career plans, college plans, and things like that. So again, trying to make another connection with our kids to help support them here at school. And then also CTE and career spotlights, those informational articles and things like that are also included in our district dispatch as well. So our community can see where we're focused on and what we can highlight in our building. And now I'd like to invite a few special guests that we have here tonight. Our HOSA club, we have a few students as well as Miss Duke, who's their advisor. So we have Sadie DeVries, Tyler Deals, Paige Postema, and Nina Winter. I'm going to turn it over to them briefly here to talk about HOSA. Here we go.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I am Jennifer Duke, and I am the sponsor of HOSA. HOSA is our future students that want to participate in some sort of health career after high school. And in this club, they are able to network with other students in the state and learn different skills in their intended area. So now I'm going to have the students tell you a little bit more about our organization.
Hi, I'm Sadie DeVries, if you guys did not know. I've been in HOSA for 2 years, so I started my junior year, and this year as a senior, I'm part of the leadership committee. My name is Paige Postema, and I am part of HOSA for the past 3 years, and I'm also part of the leadership committee.
My name is Tyler Deals. This is my first year in HOSA. I competed in the veterinary science team, and I'm going to state for that. So.
Hi, my name is Nina Winter. I'm a junior. This is my first year in HOSA, and I competed under pharmacy science, and I'm also going to state for that. So now I'm going to talk a little more about HOSA. So what our mission really is to get our student body, like students that are interested in like the medical career, any sort of those fields, get in this club and really open their spectrum to what is available for them. And we are also involved in many community events, like we went to the elementary schools and helped with giving flu shots and watching and learning about that. We also did a vision clinic with the elementary schools where we got to scan the little kids' eyes for what kind of vision they needed or if they needed glasses or anything. So those are just a couple of things we are involved in.
So we are preparing for our state competition. We'll be going to the Wisconsin Dells April 10th to the 12th. And since that was posted, we actually have had 3 more of our students qualify. So out of 12 that went to regionals, now 7 have qualified for our state competition. And those will include some online testing, which they are completing this week. And then when they get to state, they'll be doing some skills that the judges choose for them. We will be spending 2 nights there, and they'll have some networking sessions, some speakers that the students will attend, and then there's also a special dinner and dance social for the students as well. Again, thank you for having us tonight.
Okay, thank you to our students and Miss Duke, and good luck at state. That's awesome to hear. The last thing I'll cover here, and Mr. Tronson referenced this a little bit at the beginning of the presentation, is an update on our at-risk program. So really encouraging numbers that we're seeing here to start this school year in terms of offering more options for students. Because not all students learn the same way. Sometimes there's different paths for students to travel. And we want to try to make sure we have some other options for students rather than just a traditional pathway to graduation and earning a diploma. So one thing we always try to focus on in terms of our graduation rates, that 97% target is always there for us, and we want to try to keep that goal in mind, while also reducing our failure rates, which we know has a direct impact on academic achievement. These are some things that we have to offer now at Beaver Dam High School, so it's changed a lot in the last year. We typically have had, the upper left corner there, credit recovery, in the past is an option for students to regain some of those classes and those credits. Below that, the CCS, the cross-content studies. We've also had that here recently in the last few years, specifically with our 9-10 grade levels, and now that expanded to grade 11 as well. And so those we've traditionally had here in the past years, but the newer options there, the guided support, blended, and competency are new things this year. So I'll explain those a little bit. The guided support is really centered around our freshmen and sophomores working on other academic supports and skills. So they've done some of those things beginning of the school year, really working on some of the organizational things, setting goals to set them up for success, and now being a little bit more involved and more attention to helping them academically. So it's really a smaller, almost study hall type feel, but there's an adult in there really trying to check in with them, how they're doing, missing work, helping them academically a little bit more. So that's proven to be a great asset for some of our students that might be struggling. The blended model to the upper right-hand corner is really what it says. It's a combination of that virtual and in-person learning. So some of that's happening here in our building, some of that's also happening at the ESC North. Some of those students are here for a couple of classes. They might be working on ALEX, which is a computer-based program as well for credit recovery. And then they might be doing some of their virtual learning at home. Some of these students are also working towards work credits because they're able to manage that a little bit differently because their schedules look differently. So again, really trying to individualize that learning plan for those students because it might be different for myself or Mr. Tronson or whoever. So that blended model has given us some flexibility and some options for kids. And that's proven to be pretty popular for some of our kids to take advantage of. The competency choice is like really new. And we just got that up and rolling here about 4 or 5 weeks ago, roughly. And really what that entails is looking at certain skills or competencies that students need to achieve. So these are kids that are really at a point where this might be their only option to still graduate this year and graduate with their same age peers. So that we're really piloting this year, or this semester actually. So Rob Meyer, Jesse Peters they've been really helpful in terms of helping us organize this for kids. So looking at what kids have done from a transcript standpoint and previous coursework, and then looking at what skills or competencies they've already achieved based on those previous classes, and then developing a plan for other competencies and skills they still need to do and complete for social studies, for science, for English. And that's a small environment too. We have an at-risk teacher that's doing that, Ms. Steffes, and currently we have 5 students enrolled in that program. So we're learning a lot each day, but the kids are coming and they're doing pretty well here to start with. So again, another option for kids that we did not have in the past. So a little bit different in terms of earning a competency-based diploma, and the only difference is really depicting that on their transcripts, indicating that's a competency-based diploma. So kind of gives you an idea of where we're at with some of those other options. But looking at this slide here, the closing at-risk credit gap. So the 9th graders, of the 9th grade population that have been identified as at risk, 65% of them currently right now are on track, meaning they've earned the credits they need to so far first semester to be on track. So that's encouraging to see, because that probably was a lot less in years past in terms of being on track. The 10th, 11th, and 12th grade data there, those students have closed the gap, meaning they're not quite as far behind as they used to be. They're not quite on track yet, but they're getting much closer. So that's encouraging to see that, for example, for 10th graders, that 52% have closed that gap to get closer to being on track. Again, more than likely would be a little bit further behind at this point. So that's encouraging, seeing those numbers. And also on the right-hand side, in terms of failure reductions, really seeing a decrease in that across some of those at-risk programs, the blended learning program, CCS, and also the credit recovery. So we're seeing a definite decrease in failures because of the support we put in place to help those students achieve success. So encouraging numbers, still have some work to do and some progress to make there, but very encouraging to see that here for this school year at Beaver Dam High School.
That concludes our presentation at this time. If there's any questions, we'd love to answer.
I have a question. How, I believe probably the blended and all that is kind of where the kids who got in at the John Smith Learning Academy are now at high school, and some of the needs that they met, they had to have met. Is that kind of where the majority is for the blended classes? Or?
So as we knew we were going to be phasing out Don Smith, we stopped adding kids. So really the only ones left this year were seniors.
Okay.
So those seniors had an option to continue on with Dan up at the DSLA, and it's a very small group. Or they could come and do one of our other programs, but most continued on. A couple of them now are in the competency program. They switched to the comp because they realized they don't have enough time to get everything done in the way they're doing it now, so they're opted to do comp.
So I'm really impressed that of the way you're wrapping around the freshmen, because I haven't heard that other years, and I know you said it's different this year as well. But that requires a lot of work for you to identify those kids before their freshman year. So do you just want to say something about how you're working with the middle school to identify them so they get a strong start their freshman year?
So we use data, everything from attendance data to discipline data to academic achievement data. And then we utilize the criteria that the state has to identify students who are at risk. And so that's kind of how we put it all together. We follow that.
So as soon as they come into come into the high school from the middle school, you're ready to support them?
We already know. And we map out, like, we look at because it's interesting. A kid could be labeled at risk and be academically sound. Ironic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might be because there's other things that are like truancy. But believe it or not, we have some kids that have 4.0s that are truant by definition. So it's not always that. So we have to go through that list, and then we kind of pick out the ones that we know we need to think about guided support because they just struggle with academics. We heard that their organization is terrible, so we're going to provide that for them. So it's quite a process.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to thank you too and your staff for taking us around during the tour.
Oh, yeah.
It was really interesting. We've seen a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was really good. So I do appreciate everyone's time and that for taking the time out to show us all kinds of stuff.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Maria was
Thanks
awesome.
for the tech.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite.
Other questions? Sadie, this is your chance to grill Mr. Tronson, your
I don't have any
principal.
questions. I already know everything about high school. I'm here every day, so.
We talk so much, Chad.
It does feel like we talk a lot.
All right, any final comments, questions for the high school?
Thanks for your presentation, and pass our thanks on to the HOSA kids. They did a great job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sadie.
Good luck to the HOSA kids at state.
It's very exciting.
Yep.
That group has grown very quick, and the success has grown very quick, so that's exciting.
All right,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, 9.3, don't go too far. You're up again.
All right, I am pleased to come to you twice a year to request Start College Now requests on behalf of Beaver Dam High School students. This go-around, we have 9 different students requesting 13 different courses. Keep in mind that you may see a student who has several courses listed on there. That doesn't mean they're going to take all those courses. They oftentimes list multiple courses in case if those courses are not available. So that's why sometimes you see that. But as you can see on the list, everything from IT, CNA, American Sign Language, accounting, College 101, just to name a few. So I'm asking for your approval for these students to do this next fall.
I'll move to approve the Start College Now program requests.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then to approve the requests as presented. We will need a roll call vote, please.
Marge Jorgensen?
Yes.
John Crowe?
Yes.
Mary Quinn?
Yes.
Maria Mason?
Yes.
Lisa Tanzer?
Yes.
Chad Green?
Yes.
Gary Spielman?
Yes.
Sharon Digesty?
Yes.
Buddy Lake?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much. 9.4, WIA co-op requests. Good evening.
As many of you are aware, WIA cooperative agreements are agreements between 2 or more schools in which they are trying to provide opportunities for kids to participate on athletic teams that the school itself cannot maintain on its own. So in Beaver Dam here, we are fortunate that we actually have those opportunities that some people are looking for, and they cannot, other schools cannot provide the opportunity to their students, and so they reach out to us to co-op with our school. There is one sport, however, that we do need, we just don't have the people, but we would like to continue to provide the opportunity for those kids, and we then ask the other school. So we are the hosting school for most of these co-ops, and one, we are not. We are the cooperative school. So I would ask for girls hockey. We are the host school. The reason we have other schools involved is we need to try to sustain our own program because we struggle with numbers sometimes, and also with only one ice rink in the area. These girls grow up playing together, and then when they get to high school, they just don't have the opportunity unless we have this cooperative agreement. So we're looking to be Beaver Dam, Dodgeland, Horicon, Wayland, Columbus, and Mayville, which is pretty standard for girls hockey in the state. There's only about 30 teams, and all of them are like this. The other co-op we're looking for is wrestling for the boys. Obviously, our wrestling team wouldn't need the extra people, but we co-op with Wayland for wrestling as kind of an exchange because we do need to co-op with them on their team with our boys swimmers. So we've had for sure under 10, I could probably confidently say under 5 swimmers for the boys. We can't sustain a team that way, so Wayland usually can, and so they allow our boys to come swim if we also provide their 1 or 2 wrestlers the opportunity to come to us, and so it's kind of an exchange there. I would usually be asking for boys hockey as well, and I will be next year because these are 2-year agreements, but this year there are no predicted kids from any of those schools coming for boys hockey. So instead of renewing the co-op and not having anybody else participate in it being a Beaver Dam team, we are going to stick to just being Beaver Dam next year because there are 2 divisions in hockey, and that would allow the boys to potentially and probably compete at the Division II level, just being Beaver Dam, because it goes based on enrollment. And so the enrollment of all those schools would be added into ours, and if we're not pulling anybody in from those schools, we might as well go for a year. So then I will be coming to you next year with just the single boys hockey co-op, because we will start to have some freshmen from Columbus and other schools next year. So I would ask, unless there are questions, that you could potentially approve all of the co-ops that I'm presenting. So it would be girls hockey, wrestling, and boys swim.
Questions? Question, Mel.
Yeah.
Has there been any interest in girl wrestling? 'Cause you just
Girl,
said
we
state
actually offer girls wrestling officially. So when with our wrestling, because it's growing, we actually had a couple girls wrestle. One in particular on the varsity team. It is girls and boys wrestling combined. Until we can establish enough girls, if we ever get to that point where they would have their own individual team. So our girls just wrestle with their boys right now. It's a good question, though, because this was the inaugural year of the state tournament.
Nice.
Mel, is it accurate, too, that with the wrestling co-op with Wayland, that does not have an impact on our division status because we would be Division I regardless? Is that accurate?
Exactly, yeah. In
Okay.
wrestling, we would be Division I no matter what.
Thank you.
Other questions? If not,
I make a motion, we approve the co-ops as presented for wrestling, girls hockey, and boys swimming.
Second.
all right, so we have a motion and a second then to approve the co-ops as presented. We will need another roll call vote, please.
John Bell,
Yes.
Mary Sue,
Yes.
Maria Mason,
Yes.
Lisa Campbell,
Yes.
Jack Reedy,
Yes.
Gary Filmon.
Yes.
Brent Rajewski,
Yes.
Beth Dillard,
Yes.
Roger Jorgensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that takes us to 9.5, return and learn update.
Good evening. Just a few updates for everybody regarding our return to learn plan. So our goals have not changed. Again, we're providing an update on our current community metrics, specific realities associated with our district and other area districts, and then an opportunity for questions, comments, and discussion. So if we go ahead and look at our numbers, where they have been and what has happened, we see that we have seen a large decrease in activity, which is very, very positive, and also the hospitalization rates as well as patients in ICU continue to shrink. So that's all very, very good news 2 months in a row, which is wonderful. This is the map that shows Dodge County over time. So from March
2 years ago to March today, what our journey has been. Specific to our district, you'll see that September through January are summarized, showing staff, students, and then the percent positive. You see our time in February, where things have really steadily improved, and at this point in time, generally speaking, through middle of February on, really all of February, but middle of February on, we've had very, very little activity relative to COVID. A couple of updates. So as most people are aware, CDC and DHS updated their guidance associated with masking recommendations no longer being required or even recommended necessarily universally in K-12, and also the removal of masking requirements on transportation, including buses. So we've adjusted to that model because that was specific guidance from CDC and DHS that went out to all schools. And then I would just ask, and I don't necessarily know because it's so semantic related in nature, that we consider removing signage or communication that references masking as recommended or highly recommended. We align our messaging to simply use the term optional, where messaging continues to be necessary. And again, I don't necessarily know, because I don't know if that would require a motion, but it would be nice to at least have the board's support to update that, because our current messaging says highly recommended and optional. Just to say optional. That's all I have for an update. So any questions, comments, or discussion?
So specific to the wording and the messaging, if anybody has any comments to the contrary of what Mark is asking, this would be your opportunity to say so. Otherwise, I think without that, I don't think we need a motion. I think Mark can just go ahead and pursue that as he sees fit.
I think optional is okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments overall?
Thank you.
All right, so that moves us to 10, starting with 10.1, Board of Education Student Rep Report. I will turn it over to Sadie.
Hello. I don't have a lot again. I feel like I was just here like 2 weeks ago, so. Yeah, I guess I actually was. Winter sports wrapping up. I think in general our school had a really successful sports season with wrestling, powerlifting, hockey, boys and girls basketball, and bowling just finished their season too. So I think we had a lot of participation and good success this year. Tomorrow's the ACT, so juniors have to go to school and everyone else gets a virtual day, which is different this year. Normally kids just get the day off, but we're doing a virtual day, so like 9th, 10th, and 12th graders have to have an online assignment for their classes instead of just doing nothing. So I think that's not that bad, because you still get to be at home, so. I don't know if Mr. Johnson mentioned this, but we're having attendance month at the high school this month. So kids, if they're there all the time, they get entered into drawings for like gas cards, Visa gift cards, and food gift cards. And I think that'll be good to really motivate kids to be there, especially this time of year. I think kids get really sick of school. I know I kind of do, but it's definitely motivating to have some sort of reward. And lastly, our school just had their winter play, so that was successful. I know I was here at the high school a lot this weekend, and there was a lot of people here, so I think that's all good.
I know with colleges not necessarily requiring testing, specifically this year, I know it's encouraging to see the high school doing some extra things to try to support the kids and stay engaged, so it's nice to see. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. That'll move us to 10.2, Operations Committee update.
The Operations Committee met on February 28th. Maria, Gary, Joanne, and myself were present. Dr. White, Director of Human Resources, presented the preliminary staffing plan for the 2022-2023 school year. She reported that staffing for the current school year focused on COVID mitigation, health and safety, hygiene, academic growth, special education, and ELL services. Staffing for 2022-2023 will focus on continuing support in special education, ELL, and academic growth for K through 12, while adding increased focus to social, emotional learning and mental health and student services. She reviewed the staffing costs, the opportunities and realities, the staff FTE actual versus planned, and projections for 2022-2023. There are no large changes to the total FTE district-wide that are anticipated, and efficiencies will be explored through attrition to better align with goals for next year. Because of the meeting, our next meeting will be April 25th, 2022 at 5:30. But following our operations committee, we were asked to present this to the full board as a recommendation and a motion for action to approve the preliminary staffing plan that we had been given. So I'm making that motion now.
Second.
Motion and a second then to approve the preliminary staffing plan for 22-23. I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Mary Coons?
Yes.
Maria Mason?
Yes.
Lisa Hanson?
Yes.
Chad Greenway?
Yes.
Gary Spielman?
Yes.
Trent Dijkowski?
Yes.
Ed Billy?
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen?
Yes.
John Cox?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Marge. That'll move us to 10.3, teaching and learning.
Teaching and Learning met on February 21st. Board members present were Bev, Mary, John, and myself. Ms. Jansma provided information on 4K, and we will actually have her come up and share a little bit of information after I am done with our committee meeting notes. Mr. Peters provided an update on district data metrics. He shared enrollment, financial, attendance, and behavioral data. He reviewed achievement data from each level, along with the graduation rates, student and staff engagement, and family satisfaction data. The next steps include continuing staff collaboration around the 4 questions of professional learning communities, modifying at-risk services based on student needs, using performance data to adjust student needs, and preparing students for spring assessments. Mr. Meyer also presented the mid-year achievement gap reduction report. The achievement gap reduction schools that are currently participating are Lincoln, Jefferson, and Washington Elementary. He reviewed the strategies in grades K through 3 that allow the schools to receive funding with the goal of reducing the achievement gap and increasing student achievement. He shared data of students who are at or below grade level in both reading and math. Mr. Meyer then presented proposed updates to graduation, retention, and promotion board policies. The language in policy 5460, which is alternative education diploma, needs to be updated to reflect the change to a single diploma for all pathways to graduation, and to include a statement in the alternative education diploma section. Board policy 5410, promotion, placement, and retention, requires language specific to state-required tests along with board-approved criteria to process board-approved criteria for the process to determine if serving students at the next grade level with additional supports. We provided feedback, and those policies will be presented for a first reading to the board once the language is reviewed and updated. Our next committee meeting is scheduled for April 18th at 5:30. And now I would actually ask if Ashley could come up and share information on the 4K program.
Good evening.
Good evening. So I recently had the opportunity to provide the Teaching and Learning Committee with a brief 4K update along with some potential opportunities to explore. So I am here this evening to seek the board's approval to pilot a full-day section of 4K at Jefferson Elementary School for the 22-23 school year. I'm going to take you through our current 4K status. We currently offer 4K at community and school-based sites, all of those sections which are half-day 4K programs. These sites are at Prairie View Elementary School, Community Care Childcare, Kids Care Childcare, YMCA Childcare, St. Catherine Drexel School, Wilson Elementary School, Jefferson Elementary School, and I've also added whether we offer AM or PM sections or one or the other. We recently wrapped up our 4K registration about 2 weeks ago. We currently have 95 children registered for 4K. According to our Skyward census data, we have about 145 expected. We know that's probably going to be more, and they'll continue to trickle in as they always do. Our current 4K structure and delivery, so we currently offer half-day 4K at all of our site locations, but we would like to pilot a full-day section. Many districts are moving towards offering full-day programming. This could be at all sites, or some are doing this limited to specific locations. Some of the districts who are offering full-day 4K programming that you might be familiar with include Dodgeland, Watertown, Wisconsin Dells, the Madison School District, as well as Cambria, Friesland, just to name a few. Some benefits to full-day 4K include the foundations for early readiness skills such as social-emotional development, language development, awareness of writing and print, as well as a predictable environment and routines for our children. After reviewing some research, including peer studies from universities and the Madison Education Partnership's research brief, there is a growing preponderance of evidence that would suggest that full-day 4K is beneficial, especially for our most vulnerable population of children. Early childhood education is the foundation of our youth's educational trajectory. Children who have attended full-day 4K have shown greater early readiness skills, including social-emotional, language, and literacy concepts, such as letter ID, concepts of words, sounds, rhyming. As a former early childhood special education teacher, I see this as a potential opportunity for us to assist in closing some of those achievement gaps and move towards providing a more equitable experience for more of our pre-K children. We believe that Jefferson Elementary provides us with a logical starting point for one section of full-day 4K programming. Part of this is the anticipated enrollment, so looking even into the next 3 years of our anticipated enrollment, that seems to be an area that we're going to continue to have some strong numbers in the Jefferson neighborhood area. Our student needs, and also it would be logical because of the space we have there. Research suggests that the characteristics of Jefferson would match demonstrated outcome improvements with a full-day programming. At this time, we do not anticipate any sort of like a large-scale shift to full-day programming, but we might anticipate that over time we could potentially offer more full-day sections. So I'd like to clarify maybe some misconceptions of full-day 4K. Adding additional time doesn't mean additional work or seat time for our young learners. It's imperative that this time be structured around developmentally appropriate practices. Early childhood educators know that children learn best through organic opportunities and play while being guided with peer and adult models. So what could this look like? It could be an opportunity for extended exposure to developmentally appropriate experiences such as additional play, which could be indoor or outdoor, provide additional exposure to language and vocabulary, could create a predictable environment and routines for children for an extended duration of time. It would include rest time or quiet time. It would also add additional opportunities for social emotional learning, such as self-control, coping skills, conflict, and how to problem solve. We would continue to use the following for guidance, which is what we currently use to help guide our 4K program. So NACE, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, child care centers use this as a guide to determine their developmentally appropriate practices as well as our current 4K programming. We also use our Wisconsin model for early learning standards. So we would continue to use this to help guide our pre-K, 4K curriculum and prioritize our learning standards. And last but not least, we would continue to use the Wisconsin DPI for guidance, as well as an opportunity to network with other professionals in school districts. So if this were to be approved to move forward, some next steps would be polishing up the schedule and logistics. So if this were to be approved, I would work very closely with Mary Klewitter over at Jefferson on polishing up some of the scheduling, the logistics, working with Badger Bus Company around our transportation. I would also need to connect with families that have already registered for 4K at Jefferson. We currently have 12 families who have registered for 4K at Jefferson. So essentially we'd look at offering them the full day option. If they were not interested in that option, they would be offered their second, third, or possibly fourth choice. So when every family registers for 4K, they are asked to make 4 choices because their first choice, second, third, maybe are not guaranteed. If they were not interested in the full day option, again, it could be one of those choices which might include another elementary school site or possibly one of our child care center sites. For staffing, full day 4K would require more staffing, both teacher and TA time, but our preliminary staffing plans would allow for this added investment. So that is all that I have for you at this time. And I'd like to know if you guys have any questions for me.
I have one.
Mhm.
How many kids are how many kids will be in a full day?
That's a great question. So the ideal number would probably be somewhere between 15 and 20, just based on the recommended ratios for 4K. There's different things that would be taken into consideration with that, some of our student needs and.
So if you don't get, I mean, it probably isn't likely, but if you wouldn't get them from the Jefferson neighborhood, would you open it up then?
Yes, and what happens is, to be honest with you, when we have our 4K registration, it really is kind of like a big puzzle. So a lot of time, it's kind of based off of first come, first serve. So when families do come in and register, it is kind of time stamped. So it's already a puzzle that I work through, and most often than not, some of our other sections end up being full. Prairie View is oftentimes a very popular choice as well. Sometimes that second choice is, oftentimes that second choice for some of those families would be another elementary-based section, but that is something I would have to navigate through.
So I appreciated your last slide. I attended the teaching and learning meeting, even though I'm not on that committee, and I had the opportunity to hear the presentation and the questions of the board members. And I think one of the lingering thoughts I had in my head is like, are we forcing kids to grow up too fast? And I appreciated the last slide that you really said it's not necessarily about making our 4Kers into kindergartners, but really allowing them all of these ways to still be a 4-year-old. And I think in my head, you know, for some of them, this is an environment where it will really let them grow into being the 4-year-old they should be. So I'm hoping that we'll get some good information from doing this as a pilot so that we can discuss and decide if it's a direction we want to move any other sections in.
And that's a really good point too, Joanne, because you know, when we look at our children as they come to us into 4K and even into kindergarten, the environment is a big factor of that, right? They all come from various backgrounds and previous experiences and exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Other questions, comments? If not, I would like a motion for approval to pilot full-day section of 4K at Jefferson for the 22-23 school year.
I move the board approve a pilot of 4K full day at Jefferson for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second. All right, motion in a couple seconds then to approve a full-day section 4K at Jefferson Elementary School for the 22-23 school year. Looking for a roll call vote, please.
Maria Mason,
Yes.
Lisa Panzer,
Yes.
Jeff Reed,
Yes.
Gary Spielman.
Yes.
Brent Hajewski,
Yes.
Beth Dillon,
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen,
Yes.
John Kraus,
Yes.
Mary Coombs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. All right, so that'll move us on to 10.4 board engagement. I know we had a short turnaround time since our last meeting, but any members that would like to show or share any engagement opportunities they had, please do so at this time.
I was at the high school, so I basically said what we did, and I thank Russ for taking the time, but that's what, I did attend that tour, so.
Anybody else? Any other opportunities?
I just want to say thank you for the walkthrough of the high school. That was awesome. Great facility.
Yeah, I know there's parts of this high school that you have not seen yet, so especially that Fab Lab, so it was encouraging to see, so. Anybody else?
I'm super impressed with this pen. I just have to say that. Well done.
All right, with that, we will move to 10.5. So you all have in front of you some results from the board eval, and I'll just take this opportunity to provide a high-level summary. So board policy states annual evaluation of the district administrator. Also, board policy states an assessment of district goals, and including in those assessment of goals, the assessment of our job as a board, and that's usually done in conjunction with the annual evaluation of the district administrator. So this year, we use as an evaluation tool the rubric format that you guys are familiar with. We started using that last year for superintendent, and we hope to use both of those as we continue to move forward with annual evaluations. The rubric promotes a better standardization and, quite honestly, the ability to do a much better comparison year over year. So specific to the board eval, it included 6 components with anywhere from 2 to 4 criteria per component. The individual criteria was scored on a scale of 1 minimal, 2 basic, 3 proficient, and 4 advanced, and then averaged to a component score. The individual responses are recorded with the rubric. So if you see your individual responses, right, the lines are obviously the individual responses per the criteria. If there was something that was that came across as a 2.5 or a 3.5, you're going to see basically a plus in between the columns. That's what that's for. And then the asterisk on the less than proficient side, which would be the basic side, I just asterisk those because those are obviously things we need to pay attention to because they were rated a little bit lower than proficient and advanced. So the the average overall score was a 3.31, so that would be in between proficient and advanced. With individual component scores as follows. So under governance and superintendent relations, 3.28, community relations, 3.29, staff relations, 3.53, business and operations, 3.83, board leadership, 2.83, and then strategic plan, 3.17. Also included in the eval, we had an opportunity, obviously, to respond with open comments. So those open comments are provided to you as well on the attached sheet. The plan would be to schedule a workshop to further review sometime this summer, and then from that workshop, put in place some action items that we think we can work for possible continued improvement from a board standpoint. So any questions in the meantime, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll look forward to kind of going in and taking a deeper dive at some of this information this summer. All right? All right. We will move on then to 10.6 recognitions, and I think I'll throw it over to Marge first, please.
The I guess I'm going to start out saying this. The push with schools in recent years has been to urge students, especially girls, to take STEM classes, science, technology, engineering, and math. And while that has been successful in many ways, school districts have also realized the need to integrate arts, like humanities, language arts, music, drama, dance, into STEM. Doing so has expanded benefits of hands-on education and collaboration in a variety of ways. It helps to promote creativity and curiosity at the very core of learning. So STEM is now STEAM. So moving full steam ahead, I would like to take this opportunity to propose that our school board make a proclamation that March is Fine Arts Month in our district. We are all aware of the powerful and positive impact that the arts have on learning and the growth of our students. We're also aware that the arts have and continue to be a celebrated part of Beaver Dam community. Last month, we received correspondence encouraging us to consider making a commitment through a proclamation that affirms our beliefs as a district that recognizes the great value of arts. I believe that this is a wonderful opportunity, and I would like to propose the following proclamation. This is a proclamation of the Beaver Dam Unified School District. Whereas art and music education are viable academic endeavors and continue educational benefits to all elementary and secondary students. And whereas fine arts education develops students' creative problem solving and critical thinking abilities. And whereas fine arts education teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities. And whereas fine arts education gives students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs. And whereas fine arts education reinforces and brings to life what students learn in other subjects. And whereas fine arts education interrelates student learning in art and music production, art and music history, art and music criticism and aesthetics. And whereas national and state leaders have acknowledged the necessity of including art and music experiences in all student educations. And whereas March be officially recognized as Youth Art Month and Music in Our Schools Month. And we endorse the observance of Fine Arts Month and encourage the support of quality school fine art programs for children and youth. That's my proposal.
Thank you, Marge. I think, obviously, I think all of us sitting here from a board standpoint, right, have probably had some involvement in fine arts and how it's shaped our lives and how it's shaping our kids' lives. So with that, I would ask that we have a motion to approve the proclamation as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then to approve the proclamation as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right.
And one added note, talking about fine arts, the middle school is celebrating Fine Arts Night coming up on March 10th between 6 and 7:30 p.m. It's an open house style of event, open to the public. You can come anytime. There will be activities. There will be chorus performances, make and take art for all family members, small ensembles and band and orchestra, student art on display, jazz band performance, and community art projects. So if you're available on March 10th at between 6 and 7:30, head on over to the Beaver Dam Middle School.
All right. Thank you, Marge.
Mary, can that be in our calendar, please?
You want to add that as a engagement opportunity for this month? Thank you. All right, I'd like to follow that recognition up with another recognition of an individual that's sitting amongst us. So this person started on the Board of Education in 1995. She's looking at me. Serving the district for 9 terms, 27 years, and then in that time has held a variety of positions, including 6 terms as president, 2000, 2004, 2008, 9, and 10, and 2019. 1 term as vice president, 3 terms as treasurer, 2 terms as clerk. This person has also served in numerous committees, including the Wall of Fame Committee, as co-chair since its inception. This person has lived our mission for almost 3 decades of guiding our students and empowering their futures. She is an unbelievable asset to the board, also to the Beaver Dam Unified School District. And I would now ask you at this time to please stand and join me in a heartfelt thank you to our colleague and friend, Bev.
That should at least
Bev,
wait
we
till April.
We offered Gary an opportunity for a speech, so I'll throw it over to you if you'd like to say a few comments.
Well, being totally unprepared, although knowing that my term on the board is coming to an end with not this meeting.
Not this
I will
meeting.
still be here for April, and I will still be attending committee meetings. Anybody who considers running for a spot on the Board of Education should do it. I got involved because I was involved in Washington School PTO while my children were in elementary school. And the first time I tried, tried for an appointment. Bob Newman got the appointment. The following year, I ran and was elected, and I've been on ever since. And it has been nothing but a wonderful experience. And yes, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's a roller coaster ride because there are ups, there are downs, there are critical issues that have to be decided all the time when you're considering children's education as a public school entity. So no, it's not easy. I will echo Gary in that every board member I've served with has brought something to the table, and the vast majority of them have come to the table with the idea they don't have an agenda of their own, except to give kids in this district the best education there is. And that's not always an easy thing, because we all know kids come from different experiences and they need different things. And as a public school entity, we get to figure it out for everybody. And this district does one heck of a job. So I'm going to turn it around and salute you, because if this district didn't do the job it did, I probably wouldn't have wanted to continue to run for election 9 times. So I appreciate the opportunity as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev. So I'm usually not that good with math, but I think I can handle this one. So tonight we celebrated 57 years of experience on the board. So I thank you both for your service to the Beaver Dam Unified School District. Any other recognitions anybody else would like to make?
Sadie,
I was just, you beat me to it.
student athlete. The last couple of basketball games, she's been getting in, and so we've been cheering for her. It's been great.
Thank you for always coming to our games.
I would like to recognize the high school students and staff members that were part of the Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon that was put on this past weekend. I had the pleasure of attending 2 different performances this weekend, and it was interesting to see how quickly the students had put together their performance. They had just signed up to do the play in January, and it was kind of postponed a little bit, so they put together everything in February, and it was funny and humorous, and there was a lot of audience participation, and so it was wonderful to see that interaction from the high school and to have live performances again with a variety of people there.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
I really want to recognize Daily Dodge because they've made it possible to follow all of these high school sports even when you can't be at all of the events. So it's been fun watching sometimes from the car or the road or someplace else and being able to follow these kids and just being proud of not just the athletes participating, but our students in the stands and their behavior and their support of their classmates. And of course, Benny, who always steals the show. So it's been a lot of fun to just watch this season. And I appreciate their support in bringing it to all the folks that weren't able to make it to games for whatever reason.
I know Gary recognized Sadie, but I think it's also, Sadie is the Daily Dodge Athlete of the Week, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Any other recognitions anybody would like to share? Sure.
All right, Sadie covered most of these, so I won't be overly redundant, but just want to again recognize all the kids that have been very active this winter, whether it was a spectacular-thon or I know that our basketball teams are doing well. Boys are still in the hunt. Girls had a great season, not what they wanted to have happen at the end, but can't be too disappointed in 25-3 and another conference and regional championship. Also, Kyler Newberger and Gabe Klatt, who wrestle for us, were both at the state meet and both placed. Kyler Newberger's a senior, so I want to thank him for his outstanding career with us. Gabe Klatt, a sophomore, so I think we'll hear more about him in the future, and he was a state runner-up, which is phenomenal. And team wrestling at advanced to sectionals. State powerlifting, Lillian Lisco, Truman Lysis, and Matthew Hendricks all qualified for state and placed in the top 10. It's pretty awesome. And then in alignment with the proclamation that Marge brought forward and the board approved this past weekend was WSMA Solo Ensembles. We had 90 high school students compete in 115 events, and 62 of those events qualified for state, which is amazing. So special thanks for all those students who share their talents with us in a pretty unique and amazing way.
Anybody else? Any other recognitions?
Lincoln Elementary had a book fair. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun. They had the Michigan dances. Was it dances or? It was.
Yep.
It was really neat to see diversity that way. That was really cool.
Excellent. Anybody else? Anything else? I think just based on the amount of recognitions tonight, I think there is a lot to be thankful for and a lot to celebrate in Beaver Dam Unified School District. So thank you all for sharing those recognitions tonight. With that, I will look for a motion to move into closed session.
I move we recess into closed session per Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss specific employees and to discuss negotiation strategy. In Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. We will reconvene into open session for the possible transaction of business and adjournment.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second to move into closed session. Roll call vote, please.
Jason Hanser,
Yes.
Greg Creedy,
Yes.
Gary Tillman.
Yes.
John Podolsky,
Yes.
Beth Hilly,
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen.
Yes.
John Kraus.
Yes.
Mary Coon.
Yes.
Maria Nuss.
Yes.
All right, we will move into closed session and be back for finishing of business.
Yes.
All right, we have everybody back. We are back into open session, so we will move forward with 13 and 13.1.
There's one resignation on the agenda for your approval this evening.
I move the board approve the resignation as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resignation as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All those not, same sign? All right.
We do not have any leaves of absence for tonight. We have one appointment, Haley Daniels as school psychologist for the district for next school year. So this is our first hire for next year.
I move the board approve the appointment as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the appointment as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Jack Ruby?
Yes.
Gary Spielman?
Yes.
Joanne Tajewski?
Yes.
Bev Dilley?
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen?
Yes.
John Kraus?
Yes.
Mary Coombs?
Yes.
Maria Mason?
Yes.
Lisa Knust?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then we'll move on to 13.4.
I would like to present Joanne Tyjeski, Mark DiStefano, and Michelle Falkenham to serve as the Board of Canvassers for the April board election. Caitlin Fick will serve as an alternate. That's my motion.
All right,
Second.
thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Board of Canvassers for the April 22 election. All in favor?
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, 13.5.
Right, so I present to you the final reading of board policy updates. The board received in February 2 new policies and 27 revisions for their consideration. 2 other policies were also referenced as being under district review. Some of those actually had been referenced earlier coming out of some teaching and learning discussions. So those aren't necessarily part of the approval right now. I'm hoping that the board would adopt the new policies, 1421, criminal history record check and employee self-reporting requirement, policy 6108, authorization to make electronic fund transfers, and then the 27 revisions that were part of the Neola update.
All right, any comments, questions? If not, look for a motion to approve the board updates as presented.
I'll move to approve the board updates as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second then to approve the board updates as presented. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, that moves us down to payment of claims.
I move for payment and claims in the amount of $2,020,947.15.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for payment of claims. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Spielman?
Yes.
Joanne Tajewski?
Yes.
Bev Dilley?
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen?
Yes.
John Kraus?
Yes.
Mary Coombs?
Yes.
Maria Mason?
Yes.
Lisa Knust?
Yes.
Jack Ruby?
Yes. All right, with that, I'd look for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
All those not, same